Hare Krishna, please accept my base glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Ajnana Timanvasya Janonsma Shalaka Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Gurave Namah. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaurvani Pacharini Nirvishesha Srinivadi Paskachai Desatarani. Hare Krishna, we are continuing with the study of Shisa Upanishad, Mantra 10 today, and Mantra 11. We will hear about the contrasting results of Vidya and Avidya. So the topic of this mantra is, how can Vidya lead us to the Absolute Truth? In the previous mantra we have discussed that those who are in Avidya, they go to darkness, but those who take Avidya and Vidya as Vidya and mislead others go to they are going to even deeper ignorance. So about cultivation and of Avidya and Vidya, different results come about. Now, mantra 11. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Ayat Evaro Vidyaya Nyatauch Avidyaya Itis Susruma Dhiranam Yasnastat Vishashakshire. That word translation. Anyat, different. Eva, certainly. Ahu, set. Vidyaya, by the culture of knowledge. Anyat, different. Ahu, set. Avidyaya, by the culture of nations. Iti, thus. Susrama, I heard. Dhyanam, from the sober. Ye, who, na, to us, that, Vichasakshire, explained. The wise have explained that one result is derived from the culture of knowledge, and that a different result is obtained from the culture of nations. So, one of the ways Scripture is teaching is that if you do this, then that will happen. If you do that, then that will happen. Now it's up to you to decide that. So like in Bhagavad Gita, if we go to the Bhagavad Gita, so you have, Krishna uses also that technique, like in 18th chapter 18, I think it's text 58. This is an example. Matchit sarvadurani mat prasadatarishasi asaditvam ahankaram nashushashi vinakshati. If you become conscious of me, you will pass over all the obstacles of conditioned life by my grace. If, however, you do not walk in such consciousness, but act to false ego not hearing me, you will be lost. So that makes things very clear. That if you do this, you have one result. If you do that, then you have another result. And Krishna does that also. Think we go to Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, last verses. Text 39. A faithless man who is dedicated to transcendental knowledge and who subdues his senses is eligible to achieve such knowledge, and having achieved it, he quickly attains to the supreme spiritual peace. Thus a faithful man who is dedicated to transcendental knowledge. Okay. Now, in the next verse, Krishna says, but ignorant and faithless persons who doubt the revealed scriptures do not attain God consciousness. They fall down. For the doubting soul there is happiness neither in this world nor in the next. There are a few more examples where Krishna does this. So that makes things clear. In this mantra, what is the meaning of avidya in this mantra? It refers to the pursuit of sense gratification. We go to here, it's mantra 10, So, avidya means to the pursuit of sense gratification, and vidya refers to what helps us to develop spiritual understanding and further on to attain Krishna consciousness. So, this is the overview here the paragraph, the first two paragraphs, he said, vidya leads to desirable qualities. And then further, avidya leads to undesirable qualities. And then only a dhira can teach vidya. So these are the, just too quick. These are this is a breakup of the purport, the overview, so vidya leads to desirable qualities. What desirable qualities are we speaking about? So let's go to Bhagavad Gita to look at these desirable qualities. The Bhagavad Gita, chapter 13, there we can all read these desirable qualities. Humility, pridelessness, non-violence, tolerance, simplicity, approaching a bona fide spiritual master, cleanliness, steadiness, self-control, renunciation of the object of sense gratification, absence of false ego, perception of the evil of birth and death, old age and disease, detachment, freedom from entanglement with children and wife, home and rest, evil-mindedness amid pleasant and unpleasant events, constant and unalloyed devotion to me, aspiring to live in a solitary place, detachment from the general mass of people, accepting the importance of self-realization, and philosophical search for the absolute truth. All these I declare to be knowledge, and besides this is whatever there may be, is ignorance. Only a person who is sober, who is not deluded by material things, he can teach knowledge in a systematic way. That Srila Prabhupada gives the 20 qualities described in Bhagavad Gita 13, 8 to 12 as a list of 18 instructions. First he discusses real humility. Real humility is more directly expressed on how we respect others. Amanina amadina. So this is a positive way we can cultivate humility. Then we become less self-conscious. It is not about thinking low about myself, but about thinking less about myself. Then not pose oneself as a religionist for name and fame. The Sri Ishopanishad states about Vidya, and Srila Prabhupada explains it based on Bhagavad Gita. Interesting. Then about anxiety to others. Ahimsa. The definition Srila Prabhupada gives about ahimsa is not to be the source of anxiety to others. That is a profound definition of ahimsa. And then Prabhupada speaks about, gives a translation of 434 of Bhagavad Gita. Dat Vinapanapatna, Pariprasna, Savior, Protection, Playground, Anas, Tatvadashna. I should approach a bona fide spiritual master and serve him, inquire about spiritual life in the mood of humility. And Prabhupada explains Acharya is one who leads one to the states of spiritual realization. Then we have this 18th instruction. In the 12th instruction he says, one should remember that one has to face the miseries of repeated birth and death. That one has to remember that one has to face the miseries of repeated birth and death. So this is knowledge. To recognize I'm suffering. That we solve these problems by raising our consciousness. And quality 17. Develop a liking for a residence in a secluded place. What does it mean? One should avoid congested places where non-devotees reside. Because when we go to these congested places where non-devotees reside, that could emerge us in an atmosphere of avidya. 18, the last one. One should conduct research in spiritual knowledge because spiritual knowledge is eternal. So one should conduct research in spiritual knowledge either through metaphysics, which means philosophy, or physics, to science. We can come to spirituality. Prabhupada makes that point. Whatever spiritual knowledge we acquire, we will get back in the next life, never lost. But real knowledge, Prabhupada emphasizes in this purport, is the development of character. And then go back to the to our slides. Like, just a moment, technology. So, Prahlad Maharaj, he said these 9 processes of devotion offered to Lord Vishnu is the best knowledge because it increases our attraction, our devotion to the Lord. The transcendental meaning of knowledge is devotion. That's interesting. The transcendental meaning of knowledge is devotion. So what happens with someone who has Buddha? That Buddha, real knowledge. Am sarvasya pavu mata sarvam praktadeti matva bhajanti mam Buddha bhava samamvita, Buddha bhava samanti. The result of real Buddha is bhava samamvita. So real knowledge leads to devotion. Socrates said that knowledge is virtue. The knowledge must be reflected in the character of the person. This is consistent with the Vedic understanding. When we live in a mood of goodness, then knowledge is cultivated. Knowledge must lead to the development of all these qualities. Now Francis Bacon said knowledge is power. That's knowledge in a definition of knowledge in the mode of passion. Socrates was in the mode of goodness, Prahlad in the mode of transcendental. But Francis Bacon said knowledge is power. This is rajasic. Raja or passion means controllership, trying to control the mode of passion. How can things happen according to my will, and the knowledge I have is for that purpose? So this is one aspect of knowledge. This is the external power, not internal power. Technological power does not enhance willpower. People are simply concerned with how much I can control. This is the current definition of knowledge. But yes, there is a divorce of education from transformation, and that leads to disruption. So education was originally related to transformation. But the godliness has to be brought out by education. In the United States, young children take guns and shoot. It happens elsewhere also. There is just the capacity of having information, but the transformation is not considered important. It is not just by speaking that people develop values. If there is a value of respectfulness for others, if the culture of satire and sarcasm, if the culture is of satire and sarcasm, then this culture will counter the values that must be developed. One can be a topper in university but have bad qualities. Smoking, drinking, very harmful. So knowledge and ignorance is irrelevant information. They have talk shows and quizzes. What is the use of that information? Does that add any value to a person's life? This is the decline of the conceptions of knowledge. What you know is not so important as you live. If the person is not devoted to Krishna, then what is the value of talking about Krishna? George Harrison said, he asked Prabhupada, how can we recognize the spiritual master? And Srila Prabhupada replied, the spiritual master is one who is addicted to Krishna, who has an irresistible attraction to Krishna. What you know is not so important as you live. Even from the material perspective, we should be kind to animals. Less leash is seen as cruelty to the dog, but at the same time they take breakfast and eat flesh. The divorce between learning and living has to be bridged. Knowledge is not just for learning, but for living. This emphasis is today lost. So avidya leads to undesirable qualities. We see that students they don't have students, they have no amanitvam. They make jokes about the teacher. This is a perverse standard of cleverness. Kali Yuga is notion of faults. Finding faults does not require cleverness. Finding the good in others requires cleverness. One can speak in the most clever way destructively, and that is most appreciated. Even 150 years ago, education was based on self-mastery. Thus there was separate education for boys and girls. Sexual feelings may temporarily create the illusion of power, but it sucks away our energy. There is no cleanliness because of lacking of training. No focus on development and character. There is no ahimsa. Scientists developing weapons of mass destruction. This is a tragic abuse of God-given intelligence. The development of the atom bomb. The biggest brain leads to the worst destruction in recent human memory. The culture of ahimsa is not there. These weapons can fall in the hands of terrorists. They also have chemical weapons. It's all tamasi. What is the solution to this? There is a misunderstanding of the purpose of life that brings the misuse of human intelligence. There are religious festivals where people make big pandals and Ganesh images. The bigger the Ganesh, the bigger the false ego of the patron who is sponsoring it. There is no genuine spiritual culture. There is only the appearance without substance. There are no rules, no commitments made. And one gets initiated by a so-called guru. It is self-serving and self-deluding arrangement. The disciple will not make any advancement. It is a show of religion without substance. That is also avidya. Then there are the nationalists. Srila Prabhupada takes this from a universal perspective. We live on the earth only for a few decades, and we try to make boundaries and countries. From the social and political plane, it is a very serious issue, but from the transcendental position, fighting for I and mine is short-sighted. People think that patriotism is a good quality. Nationalism thinks that my nature is the best. That is based on ignorance, that Aparadharma, attraction to family, etc. It's a form of illusion. But the Bhagavatam gives Dharma from a transcendental perspective. We should go beyond nationalism and transcend its designation. That Srila Prabhupada, one who thinks my land is worshipable, that's from the Srimad Bhagavatam, is not better than a cow or an ass. The vision of the Bhagavatam is so penetrating that it goes to the substance. It is rejecting even religion that is superficial. We need to associate with people who are enlightened. One should not just go to a holy place to take bath. So nationalism, etc., are conceptions based on ignorance. The bodily identification are not desired. Souls who have taken birth in India have spiritual and pious credits. Srila Prabhupada is focusing on the spirituality of Indians, and he is asking them to bring out spirituality, the development of transcendental qualities. This begins with hearing from a dhira. A dhira is one who is not disturbed. It is one who is not disturbed by material illusion. One must be spiritually realized, Brahma Buddha platform, not lamenting or hankering. Srila Prabhupada uses the term getting a body. There is no intrinsic connection between the body and the soul, and by circumstances they come together. So there are foreign elements. Simply make the use of a bad bargain. The body does not cooperate with our efforts for spiritual advancement. The body pulls us down. We use it to whatever capacity we can. So a dhira must come from disciplic succession. They are simply concerned with their own remuneration in dollars and cents. They cannot act as dhiras. Only those who have spiritual realizations see, they see the character of a dhira. They develop the character of a dhira. So yes, so what is our conclusion? We see here, modern man is converted into an ass. That is the conclusion. So this is mantra 10. This is the second mantra explaining vidya and avidya. So now we will go to the third mantra of this section, explaining vidya and avidya, but in another way. That we'll first read mantra 11. Therefore, we have to go back to the Shi Upanishad. First mantra 11. Vidyam savidyam, vidyam savidyam sayas, tatvedo vayam saha, avidyayam ityam tritva, vidyayam itamasnute. Only one who can learn the process of nescience and that of transcendental knowledge side by side can transcend the influence of repeated birth and death and enjoy the blessings of immortality. So this is the mantra 11. So we go back first now to our overview. But here you have the process of nescience, and transcendental knowledge. So avidya is a process of nescience. What is this process of nescience? It's knowledge about bodily maintenance, the body. And at the other side, knowledge here means the vidya has the same meaning as in the previous verse. Knowledge in pursuit of Krishna consciousness. And this verse says you need both to advance in spiritually. Knowledge of the material and knowledge of the spiritual. So we will explore this verse now further. That now I will first a moment get the slides for mantra 11 on the screen, and then we will share that. And share screen up. Mantra 11 is here. So mantra 11. First, we go to our overview. So this is the third verse, which explains the difference between vidya and avidya. But avidya and vidya have different meanings. So in mantra 9 we have heard vidya takes us to darkness and vidya takes us to greater darkness. So avidya was knowledge for sense gratification. That it's innocent knowledge. But vidya means knowledge to expand one's sense gratification. And that's worse, misusing knowledge to expand one's sense gratification. In 10, vidya and avidya have another meaning. Vidya is the pursuance of sense gratification, and avidya is the pursuance of Krishna consciousness. And in 11, vidya means knowledge for maintaining the body. And avidya means transcendental knowledge, and you need both to get immortality. Now, of course, if one looks straight forward at avidya and vidya, then these verses become confusing. But these are the meanings here of vidya and avidya. If we understand these meanings, then these verses are not confusing. Avidya, in verse 9, ignorant pursuit of sense gratification, and vidya means knowledge for pursuing sense gratification. Now, this knowledge, this vidya in verse 9 becomes avidya in verse 10. And then the vidya in verse 10 is knowledge for pursuing Krishna consciousness. And in 11, knowledge for maintenance and knowledge for the pursuit of Krishna consciousness. One must have both. Because mantra 9 and 10 speak about different results, but mantra 11 says you need both. So we'll see here. So one needs to have basic knowledge how to live in this world. Otherwise, one cannot use the human body as a vehicle to attain the spiritual destination. Both the material and spiritual knowledge are required. Material knowledge helps us to navigate through the problems of life, but we need to go beyond these problems to attain the spiritual world. Translation of the mantra here again. Only one can learn the process of nations and transcend, only one can learn the process of nations and that of transcendental knowledge side by side. One who can do that. He can transcend the influence of repeat birth and death and enjoy the full blessings of immortality. Now we have an overview here on the screen of Prabhupada's purport. That, yes. So, why is it impossible to attain immortality materially? The first question. The first paragraph, 1 to 5. Prabhupada gives the example of Hiranyakashipu. In spite of all his power, in one moment he was crushed by the power of time. It is only by association with devotion that we will get devotional service. Ravan was conquering the universe. He decided to kill Narada. He was shooting arrows to Narada, and all arrows disappeared in the body of Narada. The demon said, the demon Ravan, when he did that, because Narada Muni came to Ravan and said, it's best you give Sita back to Ram, you will get in great trouble. And Ravan became angry and he took his sword and his arrows, and with his sword he was trying to kill Narada, but every time, zip, his sword went to the body of Narada Muni. And Narada Muni was still dancing and chanting the holy names in the air. And so he could not defeat Narada. And so Ravan became diplomatic and he asked Narada Muni, what kind of body do you have? And Narada Muni said, I have a spiritual body. And Ravan said, can I also have such a body? Could I also get such a spiritual body? Yes, Narada said, we just must become devoted to Lord Vishnu to obtain a spiritual body. But Ravan did not want to do that. Because that means there is an authorized process to get immortality, but the demoniac do not want to go through this process. They want to get immortality on a material level. Mystic power is also a way to control material nature. Ravan and Hiranyakashipu, they did austerities and got power from higher beings. The ideas motivating mystic and scientific power are the same. Both are attempts to control material nature. Today people do not believe in mystic power, so all their attention goes to get to scientific power. Mortality on a material level is not possible. Everything material goes to 6 changes. So everything goes to 6 changes. So why is material immortality impossible? It's like saying a chaste prostitute of a courageous coward. It's a contradiction. It's contradictory. Matter must go to 6 changes. One cannot become immortal. Ordinary matter does not undergo any growth when the soul is inside. It does. So matter does not reproduce, but when there is a soul present, there is reproduction. The body, when injured, tries to heal itself, because the soul is inside. This differentiates between a soul and ordinary matter. The changes are largely incomprehensible. We cannot stop them. That is the working of material nature. Some scientists say that in the future you will not grow old. It is not possible that one Is it not possible that one can become young? No. Why? Because we cannot control the body. Someone asked Srila Prabhupada, why do I need to bow down to God? Srila Prabhupada answered, forget God, you will have to bow down to material nature. Material nature is too powerful to control. The material nature is mortality. We cannot change that. Nothing will work. If immortality is not possible on the material platform, where does the urge for immortality come from? It is deep-rooted within us. The fly escapes because it loves life. These urges come from a part from us that is immortal, and that part is the Atma. For knowing the nature of the Atma, we need to consult the scripture. The Atma belongs to the spiritual world. What is the struggle of existence and survival? Prabhupada said even the fittest does not survive. Immortality is possible if we raise the consciousness to the spiritual level. The scriptures remind us that our home is not the material world. The miseries of this material world reminds us that we are incompatible with that matter. I do not want to die, but death is forced upon me. Spirit and matter are incompatible. So there is a process to liberate us from matter. The scriptures explains that you are not a body and that the material world is not our home. The scriptures say that we are aliens in the world. We have to go back to the spiritual world. If the experience is connected with education, then learning will happen. So there will be no exception in material nature. Everyone has to die. There are ups and downs, but this is doom's journey where misery will increase. The spiritual materialistic worldviews are opposite. Some have a lollipop idea of spirituality. Everything will be solved and be all right in this world. But we cannot make spiritual advancement in that way. We need to understand that the body is a bad bargain. So, how is the body a bad bargain? Duration. The body provides enjoyment and causes of suffering. What is the duration of the enjoyment and the suffering? The enjoyment is short and the suffering is lasting. Toothache and back pain last for long. The amount of time of suffering is longer than the enjoyment. Then the intensity. We try to enjoy the body, and then the body is made in such a way that it is sensible for far more for pain than for pleasure. One pricking sensation of a needle disturbs the whole body. One part of the tongue is bitten, and then all pleasure of tasting sweet rice disappears. And variety means that the body parts are not the same. Something goes into the eyes, or degeneration may occur. Tiva so complex that there is an entire branch dealing with tooth complications. Something cold can freeze it, something may cut it, and the extent it is compared to a number of parts of the body that can give pain. These parts that can give of the body that can give pain are more than those who can give you pleasure. Will the liver give you pleasure? So, because the body is a bad bargain, if you understand this, then we can dive deep into Krishna consciousness. So when people do Dharma, then they will do so in a sustainable way. Dharma gives moral principles. By that the artha is managed equitably. If there is no Dharma, then people engage in karma anyway. Dharma brings harmony. We need to understand that we depend on material nature. Only by seeing how Dharma works, one learns what the scriptures say is true. Practice Dharma for developing God, love of God. Practice Dharma for developing love of God. But Paradharma is material religion. Material needs require to be fulfilled in a dharmic way. Then there will be harmony in society on the material level. Paradharma is more important. That is pure devotional service. This is what makes all happen. Paradharma is about developing pure love of God. So Aparadharma and Paradharma can be harmonized. So Adharma means that we will make the worst use of a bad bargain. And that's here. So the words use of a bad bargain is when we seek only artha and kama. That leads to spiritual degradation and material annihilation. The nature of lust will disrupt material and spiritual life. Dharma is the check for artha and kama. This Dharma is most inauspicious. If one has a stomach disease and he tries to enjoy a feast, it will create more suffering and require more time to heal. Do not try to enjoy within dharmic limits. Dharma, Kama and Moksha combined leads to the elevation of the soul. The Varnashram Dharma is a social arrangement. It is conducive for spiritual advancement. It's a safety net. And Adharma has to be managed. At the same time, one has to practice Paradharma. Thus, the Bhagavatam uses a phrase that Kaitavadharma. So Kaitavadharma, any sort of pure devotional service, anything short of pure devotional service can satisfy neither Krishna nor the soul. So there must be a practice, therefore one must practice a Paradharma. So therefore one must practice Paradharma. So this are the glories of bhakti that karma, abuse of the senses for material purposes, feels natural but is binding. Bhakti, the use of the material sense for spiritual purpose, is natural and liberating. Jnana, rejecting using the material senses for either material or spiritual purpose, is not binding. It's non-binding, but it's unnatural. Yes. If there is only avidya, then we will abuse karma for sense enjoyment. And we suffer. Jnana means rejecting the senses and just become silent, inactive. It's unnatural, almost impossible for most people. But yes, if we use the material senses for spiritual purposes like serving Krishna, then engagement of the senses becomes a cause of liberation. So this is an overview of this last mantra of this tree. Srila Prabhupada says, yes, there is a balanced program of spiritual, material and spiritual knowledge. Mantra 12 in the purport. So any comments or questions, please? Yes, Mother Amandita.
Hare Krishna. Maharaj, please accept my respectful obeisances until Lotus feet. Maharaj, I will go through the class again, but you explained my question in the last class, the Vidya Avidya part. And I've understood the mantra 10, the first mantra that you have taken today, and you have cited the verses 13.8 to 12 to explain to us as knowledge. But in the mantra 10, mantra 10, I think, or 11, I don't know. The words have been changed. The Vidya has become Avidya, or Vidya has become, I mean, both the, so in short, how can I understand the, transition between both the, from one verse to another? The first question is that.
Yeah, so this mantra, these three mantras, which are explaining our Vidya, and Vidya looks at different perspectives. That the first is mainly for those who are materialistic, and there are those who they are not pursuing Krishna consciousness, and they consider knowledge for sense gratification. But there are those who are living a life and they may be religious or whatever, but they have moral principles and they are just living without extending their tendency to exploit others. They are not cultivating knowledge to get more and more sense gratification. So that is avidya, in darkness. They are just in illusion. But then those who think that they make their life successful by increasing wealth, by increasing education, by getting honor, a lot of possessions, and they use their knowledge to do business. They go to the university, get a master in business administration, so they get a master in how to exploit. And they exploit the world with their knowledge to get more and more wealth and more sense gratification. This verse says, this is worse. This is worse. So that's the mantra 9. I just explain it in my own words, how I understand it, as simple as possible. In mantra 10, vidya, there, the vidya, for which was explained in the avidya, which was explained in previous verse, as vidya or avidya, is both, it's for sense gratification, all in mantra 9. And so whether avidya or vidya in mantra 9 becomes avidya in mantra 10. Because there the vidya in mantra 10 is for Krishna consciousness, to make spiritual advancement. And such knowledge, whether avidya or vidya in the previous verse, is for sense gratification. It's not going to help in spiritual life. Therefore, such knowledge is called in verse 10 avidya. And knowledge for Krishna consciousness is vidya. So that has another meaning. That's on another level. That's here at mantra 10 we are on spiritual pursuit. And then in mantra 11 it says, mantra 11 is different. Because mantra 10 and mantra 9 says, if you cultivate avidya and vidya, you have different results. Mantra 10 does not speak about results. It speaks about the combination of two kinds of knowledge to make spiritual advancement, the combination of vidya and avidya. And there, the avidya means knowledge of the material, and vidya means knowledge of the spiritual. You need both knowledge. You need a knowledge of the modes of nature and how to live in goodness. The devotee lives in goodness. He brings his body, mind and soul to the mode of goodness. So that's vidya. In the modes, that's material knowledge, but we need it. We need to know how to keep the body clean, that and so on. That we have to develop a lifestyle in goodness. That means material knowledge. In the spiritual world there is no goodness, passion, ignorance, only here. But we need that. And on the other side, we need knowledge how to spiritually advance. And we must combine both. So, does that make it more clear?
Yes, Maharaj. So mantra 9 speaks about the material knowledge, and usually the materialists understand it as knowledge, but from the spiritual point of view, it is material knowledge.
Yeah.
And in the mantra 10, the knowledge from the perspective of spiritual vision is given that this one should have. And in 11th verse, it says that one should have both knowledges, and first, and right now you explained the material knowledge, at least to lead to live a goodness life in goodness, and at the same time cultivate spiritual knowledge to advance.
Yeah.
So is this the correct understanding of mine?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
So we will see in the next set of mantras the same thing there. But there they will. It's about, I think, Asambhuti and Sambhuti, proper worship and not proper worship. And there it will say in the first verse the same thing. The Sambhuti, the worship is worse than the Asambhuti. They have different meanings in every verse. And the next verse it will say the same thing. You have two different results: material worship or spiritual worship. In the third verse it will say you need to have both together. So it's the same thing, the same structure. It's very interesting that we will hear in the next three verses.
Yeah, Maharaj. So, can we understand the mantra 11 in the sense that a devotee, a practicing devotee, must have the material knowledge so that they can understand the temporary nature of this material world or whatever is there in this world, maybe the material knowledge or whatever. Can we understand in that way also that one devotee should have material knowledge so that they can understand the temporary nature of this material world?
Yeah, a big part of our education via the Bhagavatam is understanding the material nature. All engaging in material activities will not help us forward. That we have to become very realistic about material nature. That is pursuit in sense gratification is degrading us. Thus we have to know how lust develops in the heart, and lust, anger, and greed are are uh, the the gates to hell. That's all knowledge of the material world, and we need to know that otherwise we cannot bring us to goodness. We cannot avoid these three gates to hell. We have to follow the four relative principles. The spiritual world is not needed, but we need that material knowledge how to keep these sinful activities at bay, so that we come and at the same time by spiritual activities we become pure. We don't contaminate further. That's the material knowledge, and then on the other side we have to become pure. Is that how?
Yeah, Maharaj. So, this spiritual knowledge only will make us understand the difference between the material and spiritual knowledge, right? Because from the spiritual vision, we can see the temporary nature of this material world, right?
Yeah.
And you just mentioned that in Srimad Bhagavatam, because unless we know the temporary nature or our anarthas or whatever the bond, why we are bound up in this material world, from the spiritual vision, we cannot try or we cannot further progress in the spiritual life. So spiritual knowledge includes both in this sense that they tell us the temporary nature and how to elevate ourselves.
Yeah, transcendental knowledge includes material and spiritual knowledge, and we have to know both. That's correct. Good.
Maharaj,
Yeah.
yeah, Maharaj, I have two questions from Mantra 4. Can I ask now or later?
Yeah. Mantra 4. Okay.
I have written, yeah, you not open the slide. I just want, though I've heard your class, I still want a better understanding. In one of the things that you said, in one of the slides you have shown, couple are initiated with Krishna's intelligence. So, wherein you mentioned Srila Prabhupada, and he said devotional service is individual, it's voluntary, and it's spontaneous. And in reference to the Jayadratha Prabhu's question uh, and your explanation, what I have understood that you said that Prabhupada, whenever anybody used to come to him and he used to ask that, what can you do for Krishna? Not that what I want you to do for Krishna, right? And
Yeah.
you have given one devotee's example who made many mridangas. You cited that example. So, okay. So, and you also explained that in the beginning, the spiritual master engaged the disciple as per their psychophysical nature, so that they can very easily engage their nature in Krishna's service. And it becomes very easy for that person. Like you mentioned that Prabhupada used to ask. So, and also Jayadvat Prabhu asked that how can we correlate, we can understand when our spiritual masters, senior authorities ask us to do some seva. Then you said, then you have mentioned the psychophysical nature part, but you also mentioned that, but it doesn't mean that if temple authorities or the temple
Yeah.
requires you to do some cleaning work, then you said no. So I just want to understand, and you also said that once we are on the higher stage, then we go off from the psychophysical nature. We are ready to do anything, whatever
Right.
our spiritual master says. But at the intermediate stage, at the Kanishta platform, or maybe at the beginning of Madhyam Adhikari platform, how can a person, how can a devotee work as per the psychophysical nature also, and also when temple authorities want to engage, to be engaged in book distribution or whatever, though it's not the nature, because I feel many devotees, many practicing devotees are such that when we tell them for book distribution, maybe for the sponsorship from their side or from their relative side, they feel so reluctant. They are not easy at all for this service. So how can we inspire ourselves, and how can we inspire our members also to do this? So please make me understand.
Yeah. That some services we find we may be reluctant because our mind protests. Mind say, I do not want to do this. But spiritual life means that we have to become a servant of Krishna, or the spiritual master. And serving Krishna will make us spiritually advance. Therefore Krishna says we have to become a dhira and tolerate this mind and so on. And still we should do it. So a devotee was distributing books a whole day, and he did not distribute any book. He got a lot of difficulties during the whole day. Nobody treated him nicely. And then he came to Prabhupada and reported it. And he said, my day was a failure. And Prabhupada said, no, your day is a success. You have tried to please Krishna. And Krishna sees that. And therefore you make spiritual advancement. But external success is not so important. But we should try to please Krishna and tolerate. But do we care that the whole world is dissatisfied with us? But Krishna is satisfied with us. And that is something we have to learn to become a dhira. And that makes us quickly make spiritual advancement. But like I said, sometimes we have to do a special effort. And that may not be according to our nature, our neophyte nature. But we have to do. And that day that this devotee tried to distribute books, he had not much success, but he has made a lot of spiritual advancement. Just because he learns to tolerate the mind and the senses and please Krishna. That's the spiritual path. We have to understand this, how this works. It's not always easy, but you have to try. Does that help? It's a quick way for making spiritual advancement. You can also go.
Thank you so much.
You can also go
Yeah,
slow,
please.
but it takes a lot. It takes much longer to purify yourself. Good. Thank you, Mother Anandita.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you for making bringing this beautiful point. And can I understand in this way that when your senior authorities or your spiritual master ask you to do some seva, which is not according to your nature, but he knows that by doing this seva, you will progress fast and you will cultivate so many devotional qualities, like book distribution is one of that seva, and one cultivates humility and tolerance because he or she knows that they have to face it. So is it so, like because the spiritual master can see in you how you can progress fast, so is it how can we understand like this also?
Yes, the spiritual master is representative of Srila Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada made book distribution his first priority because it was the order of his spiritual master. It pleases Krishna if we help Krishna distributing this knowledge. And that, and it's a way to purify ourselves quickly. Because it pleases Krishna, it pleases the spiritual master. One pleases the spiritual master, yeah. But Yasya Prasado, Bhagavat Prasado, Yasya Prasado Narati Kutopi. If the spiritual master is pleased, Krishna is pleased. If the spiritual master is displeased, we are not going anywhere. That is the way. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, I have one more question from the mantra 4, and wherein you were saying that you were explaining that if Krishna wants to reveal, then we can understand, because we are so finite that we cannot understand the infinite. So here in one of the slides you have shown that how this revelation works. So first, there were 3 points, and no, there were 2 points. And first point, you said neither uncertain speculation nor certain incomprehension. So neither uncertain speculation. You have mentioned about that when we concoct that Krishna, the God must be like this or that, or he is impersonal or personal. So this is uncertain speculation because we don't have knowledge. Is it so?
Yes, that's not going to help us. That's the point.
Okay.
That doesn't bring us.
So nor
Knowledge,
nor certain.
knowledge must come down
Sorry.
from transcendental knowledge comes down from Krishna to the disciplic succession. It's avaroha panta. It comes down. On your own strength, you cannot go up and attain perfect transcendental knowledge. It's useless. It's speculation. That is the point made.
And the next point in this line, the next point was nor certain incomprehension. I want to understand this.
Not certain.
First, you said incomprehension.
Yeah.
First, you said neither uncertain speculation, you just explained now. And then you wrote, it was written, nor certain incomprehension.
Yeah, because like the scientists, they are speculating on their own strength. And they develop scientific theories. You have heard so many the theory of Darwin, the theory of the Big Bang, so many theories, and the theories they change. That they change. Scientific theories change. That's a contradiction. Science should not change. Science is science. So, and that's a problem. Therefore, their theories are uncertain. That and it doesn't lead to uh, a comprehension of how everything goes together and works. It does not. It's incomprehension. So that's the meaning there.
Yeah, thank you so much, Maharaj.
Thank
My
you.
questions are done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mandaleshwar Prabhu, please.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj, Dandaprana, please accept my humble
Yes.
obeisance.
Accept my
Maharaj,
humble.
Maharaj, you told that dharma, artha, kama, moksha, whereas dharma is important, artha and kama is which you are using for material sense gratifications. Whereas this is should be, but moksha is also the part of sense gratification. Only, Maharaj.
Mm. Yeah,
Moksha is also part.
yeah,
Then,
yeah, because dharma should be used for uh, getting wealth in a dharmic way. And dharma should be used for fulfill our desires in a dharmic way. And then one becomes eligible for liberation. That's the idea. Hmm. Moksha. That's the idea. But the point I made is dharma is put aside.
mm,
This was the real dharma. Savaikum suparodharmo yato bhaktiya dakshina ahait kapatiyate yatma suprasidati. The real dharma, or the occupational duty of mankind, is to develop devotional service to the Supreme Lord, who is not perceivable by the senses. Such devotional service must be uninterrupted and unmotivated, and then it gives pleasure to the self. That's one definition of Dharma from the Bhagavatam. There are a few more. But
mm,
if Artha and Kam is connected from disconnected from Dharma,
mm,
then it will degrade oneself and not lead to moksha.
mm,
It must be used. So we can use Artha in Krishna consciousness. And Krishna
mm,
will give us, will make arrangement that we are what we, that we get what we need, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. And and Krishna consciousness will bring us beyond liberation, beyond Dharma Artha Kama.
mm.
That because liberation is only a stage in devotional service, and nothing more. Does that help?
Yes, Maharaj, thank you very much.
Okay.
Maharaj, one more question was there. You describing, explaining about George Harrison's conversation with Prabhupada
Yeah.
regarding the spiritual master. You are explaining that who is so addicted to the Krishna, he should be the spiritual master, and he should be uh, means kind for animals and this all you explained. Can I get that conversation, Maharaj? What he explained, I could not get that total conversation properly.
With the George Harrison, this conversation. If in what mantra was this?
10th mantra.
10th mantra. Uh, I get the quote here again. So, mantra. Then, No, George Harrison asked, what was the question again he asked?
He asked how to select a spiritual master.
Yeah. Just a moment. Because it's getting dark here. I have to put on the light that I see what I type. Just a moment.
Okay, Maharaj, can I get tomorrow's?
No, no. It's, just a moment. It's light now. That's better. Oh, I can see. It was in Mantra 10, you said that. I remember it, I spoke about it. Hmm. Greatest. And George Harrison, how can we recognize a spiritual master? Srila Prabhupada. The spiritual master is one who is addicted to Krishna and an irresistible attraction. What you know is not so important as you live. That so I'm starting the database. I know it's coming from a database. Can try to find it. Zip. The database. It doesn't appear. Problem with my database. I will try to find it by tomorrow and let you know where it comes from. But it's somewhere, it could be also not from the database, but one of the small books of Prabhupada. But that's what Prabhupada said to George Harrison. Good.
Okay, Maharaj. Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you very much. Oh, Rishabh Mitrapu. Hare Krishna. We don't hear you. No, we don't hear you. No, it's a problem. Maybe if you connect your earphones, maybe. Okay.
Hare,
Yes,
Hare Krishna.
now we hear you. Yes, Rishabh.
Okay. Dandavana Maharaj, Maharaji. Maharaji, I did not understand that acronym DIE, which you just showed in one of the slide. Duration, intensity, variety, and extent.
That was in mantra 11, right?
Yes.
Correct. Mantra 11. That is about the body. Go to that. So the first is the duration of the body. That duration refers to the enjoyment and the suffering of the body. That what is the duration of the enjoyment and what is the duration of the suffering? That if you eat a pizza, how long does it take? 20 minutes?
Yes.
And then a few hours later, the problem starts again. Yeah, hungry. There's a pain in the stomach. So much more pain than enjoyment. That's the first thing. And the second point was the intensity. That, we try to enjoy the body in such a way that it is sensible for far more for pain than for pleasure. That's the meaning. That so if you pick a needle, it disturbs the entire body, quite intense. That you get a problem with your tongue, it's burnt, and you want to taste sweet rice and it's not going anymore. That's really intensity. And the variety, because this is about the intensity of the body is a bad bargain. Don't see it as separate from that. But the body is also a bad bargain in terms of variety. You can get an eye disease, you can get problems with your teeth, with your liver, with your so many parts of the body. You can, a doctor knows that. And then the next point is the extent of the body. That, yes, which part of the body can give you pleasure? You can taste, right? That you can see beautiful things, that maybe you touch soft things and so on. But these are only a few organs that can give you pleasure. But then what pleasure will your liver give you? What pleasure will your kidney give you? Your lungs? So you have such a variety of body parts, but there are only a few who can give you pleasure. So the extent of being a body a bad bargain that gives you problems is much more than the extent of being a good bargain. No, it's not a good deal to have a material body. That's the point, actually. But,
Thank you. Thank you very much.
thank you. Good, thank you. Then we continue more tomorrow again with a puzzling experience of 3 verses. But and the words will have again another meaning. Avidya and Vidya, I think is Sambudhi or Sambhuti. That's for tomorrow. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Jai Prabhupada.